Okay, welcome. It is May 13th, 2025, and this is our Governance and Priorities meeting, and I will call the meeting to order at 1 p.m. We have an agenda in front of us. Has anyone got any additions or modifications to the agenda? Seeing none, just looking for a motion to accept Councillor Sheffield.
I will so move that we accept the agenda as presented.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Discussion on that motion. Call that to a vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. We have no delegations, so we're going to move on to the previous minutes of April 8th. Everyone had a chance to review those minutes, and is there any errors or omissions or anything that needs to be changed on that? Councillor Musker.
Yes, thank you. I move that we adopt the Governance Priority Committee meeting minutes of April the 8th, 2025.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Discussion on that motion. I'll call that to a vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. We have no delegations and no old business, so we're going to move on to new business. 7.1, the Land Use Bylaw Amendment. And I see Mr. Schwader, and we have Mr. Fitzsimmons here as well.
Good afternoon, Acting Mayor and Council. I'm just before Council today just to review the changes that we've done to the Land Use Bylaw. Ideally, the Land Use Bylaw is a document that's, I guess, governed by Council in regards to changes and deletions and what they'd like to see in the Land Use Bylaw. As Acting Mayor said, Mr. Fitzsimmons is here to help maybe explain some of them if I can explain. Michael's quite good at the LUB. We'll go through the document. It's quite a lengthy document, 128 pages. I'm thinking I'm just going to review the red changes in the second document, the Land Use Bylaw, showing changes in red. I think the numbers match up with the pages. I think it's 1 to 28, 1 to 128. So we'll kind of go through page by page. Changes are in red. Deletions, of course, are crossed off. If there's something we wanted to discuss, please let us know. If there's nothing, if there's things in the LUB that you'd like to address or talk about, please, we can discuss it here in regards to if we've missed something in the LUB as far as changes or deletions. So.
I see Councillor Shippold has a question.
Can you give us a bit of history as to when we looked at it last time, how often we look at it, and what the schedule for reviews are?
We did a full revamp in 2020 in regards to the previous Land Use Bylaw. In November of 2022, we did a few more changes to the LUB. In 2024, we did very minimal changes in regards to some LUB. I'm not sure exactly what those were. Oh, Michael has copies here.
Sorry, it's been a while since I've been on here. The last amendment we made was just an update to the LEB because we no longer have a municipal planning commission. So we kind of took out some of the references to the MPC in that one. And that was 2024.
So we try to review it. We try to keep track of some of the changes or some things that are a little quirky in regards to LUB. So we make a note of it, and then we bring it back to council every 18 months to 2 years in regards to if there's some major changes or things that we've noticed that need to be added or deleted from the LUB. Okay.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
So in regards to page 4 and 5, we're just adding some red in regards to where it would be located within the LUB. On page 7, under purpose and authority, 1.3.4, we just added some additions to when a bylaw person is required to comply with all federal, provincial, and municipal legislation and with any easement, covenant, agreement, or contract affecting development. The next change would be on page 12, which is non-residential districts, 3.2.32. We're adding the monument section just because of a few years back there was an inquiry regarding the 49 truck for the fire department, a monument in front of a yard, the front parcel. And so we're adding this to the LUB, just in case for future monuments within the community. You'll see as we go a little further into the document, the different areas that we're putting in it as far as permitted and discretionary. And when we go into the land use districts, we can discuss the monument section there as well. On page 14, 3.5.3, just projections for side yards and front yards. We just made some small changes there. No more changes until page 23. For home occupation class 2, we're just adding that they're required to have a parking space on home occupation 2 for their business at residence. Also, we're increasing the size of their sign for the window, 16 by 16 inches. Previous one was 10 by 12 inches. Also, we've added point 10, have more than 6 clients or customers visits per day. It just kind of gives us a base to go by. We've noticed this in other LUBs and other communities just as far as the number of visits per, just in case someone wants to, I don't want to make a complaint about a small home-based business. If they're getting 12 visitors per day, then we're saying, well, that's a little bit too much, but we'll bring that to the attention when they take out a home occupation class 2, that 6 clients or customers visits per day.
I see Councillor Schiffeld has a question.
Thank you, Acting Mayor, Mr. Schrader. So you jumped ahead. I got a few questions between where you're at now and where you were at. So one is 3.43 on page 13, and that has to do with seasonal greenhouses in commercial areas. And we are allowing for 30 consecutive days for a greenhouse, and typically a greenhouse I don't think would be 30 days. I just think the 30 days is too restrictive for a greenhouse. I see them up there. I mean, typically 60 or 90 days. I think that rather than having come back to readjust or somebody to come back and talk, I just think that 30 days may need to be changed for a greenhouse. Just something minor.
Do you have like roughly 60 days, or I don't know what the growing, like, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't have a green thumb, so I'm not sure what a greenhouse is, but I know it's more than 30 days, so.
So,
Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
Thank you. But it does refer to, except in the instance of a seasonal greenhouse. So would that
Yeah.
cover it?
let's look at the definition. It's on page 121 for the definition. Means a movable commercial building that is placed or erected on a parcel and is used for a portion of the year for retail sale of such items such as seeds, bedding plants, shrubs, and other related gardening. So I'm not, like, as far as it says, portion of the year. I'm not sure what the definition of portion is. So,
I think it should be 60 or 90 days.
yeah.
I'd say 90 days,
Yeah.
and you got lots of time. Just a housekeeping.
Yeah, no objections here.
Yeah, I think 90 days is reasonable for sure.
Then on,
Just for clarification, so that 30 days doesn't actually apply to a greenhouse?
in brackets, it says greenhouse at the bottom.
Yeah, it says,
In
so
the
it's talking, like you're talking in the highway commercial district? Because it says a building that is faced or finished with a flexible sheathing capable of being rolled or folded may be erected on a parcel and must be removed after a maximum of 30 days from the date of its erection or placement, except in the instance of a seasonal greenhouse. So it applies probably to, for example, the Brick has their tent sale. It's applying to that. That could only be out there for 30, maximum 30 days. So seasonal greenhouses, it doesn't apply to a seasonal greenhouse.
I thought the word seasonal greenhouse meant something like plant ranch, which was something that's out there all the time. That's how I interpreted seasonal greenhouse.
Yeah, so that would be a permanent greenhouse, so that would be approved by as a permanent structure.
Okay.
is the way I'm reading this. Maybe we need clarification, but
And these could be for those rolled car garages type thing where if someone wants to put out for 30 days.
we're talking highway commercial,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Did you, yeah.
I mean, it does say under 3.4.2, for a building that is faced or finished with flexible sheeting capable of being rolled or folded. So that's kind of giving you what the definition is. I don't know what that would be, something that's rolled or folded. Hmm. Maybe just clarity on that section.
So on 3.4.3, then, we're talking about a seasonal greenhouse is acceptable, but other structure of 30 days is the maximum in highway commercial. Is that, that's the way we're reading this?
It means it just says except in the instance of a seasonal greenhouse. Now, I'm not too sure where, in the LUB, it states how long a seasonal greenhouse can be, so.
I interpret it differently, so I'm okay either way. I just, maybe just some tweaking and,
So do we want to change, like, as far as if it's a rolled structure, I know we don't, you know, I know in industrial area we allow them, but in non-residential, residential, we do not allow like rolled garages or rolled
Yeah.
structures.
Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
So an example of that, would that be something that is being, a building that's being developed, but they're finishing the front temporarily with a flexible sheeting that's capable of being rolled or folded? So it would be a temporary
Front.
facade, front of that building while it's being constructed. And if that's the case, then I would understand that being 30 days maximum. Maybe a little bit clearer definition of what it means.
So are we looking for some different wording on here to make it more clear? Is that what I'm hearing, or what are we looking at?
that's what I would like just to, I understand what Mr. Kraus is saying, and if I interpret it that way, then it makes sense. When I read it, I interpreted it differently, so I think it just needs a bit of tweaking with the wordings.
Yeah, and so if we can't sit here and interpret it ourselves among council and staff, then we need to look at it and make it clearer. It's-
Fair, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Did you
I
have
guess I
other,
should-
did you have other questions?
Yeah, I got
Okay.
a
Oh,
few.
sorry.
Page 17, under parking, general landscaping rules. So number 5 and number 6, under 11.11 sub 1, 5 and 6. And it's any parking area containing 4 or more parking stalls that are visible from an adjacent parcel or street shall provide and maintain perimeter planting. I think that and the next one are both mute subjects. I don't think we have that in place now, and I don't see anybody, maybe I'm missing something here, but I just don't see the need for that. We have a lot of adjacent parking lots. The parking lot right here in the town office has not screening to the north end. The brick hasn't got screening, as many don't, and I just think that 5 and 6 are mute. I don't think we,
And that would be on new development only.
correct.
Yeah.
But if we don't have others, the next section I want to talk about is landscaping on commercial properties. So,
So, sorry to interrupt. So 5 and 6 will come back as far as if you want to keep it in or take it out?
What does the rest of council think on that?
So, for example, new construction, so we have, sorry, Dave, the new Napa building next to the next Techmation building, both got parking lots in there. Do they require, in this case, this is typically for adjacent parcels and street view, should they have to plant something in there to screen from one to the other? I don't think so.
For an example, say at the end of 52nd here with that proposed 20-unit apartment, I know that we were requiring them to have between them and the building beside them, because the parking was all along the south side of that lot, for the parking lot. So I think that would be beneficial, I guess, to keep the parking separate from the next lot to the south.
Where the real problem lies is that we ask for them to put it in on day one, and then typically after 2 years or 3 years, we don't do anything, and a lot of it comes out, and there's many examples of, you know, Canadian Tire, KFC, places where they once upon a time had it, and we asked the developer to pay a fee to ensure a security deposit, but it's short-lived, because there's nothing that compels them to keep it on forever.
Yep.
So are we just fooling ourselves, or are we adding an encumbrance to a development by saying, you gotta provide all this stuff? And then after 2 years, basically, it doesn't matter if you provide it or not. And, I mean, typically, landscaping is high maintenance, so, you know, if the tree grows too high, we cut it off, because it gets in the way of viewing the building. So I just don't know if we're, this whole landscaping thing where we ask for trees and whatever else, I just don't know on commercial properties if we don't get too carried away with what our requests are. I'm sure that some property owners out there, to attract people, they do whatever they can, and in other cases, depending on the kind of business, they look at it as more of a cost. So, and so above that, in number 3, so 3.12, 3 on page 18, 8G, where it talks about the kind of trees you need, all the rest of that. Are we micromanaging something that's short-lived, and we spend a lot of time and ask our developers to put a security deposit on, and in 2 years it becomes a moot subject? So I just don't know if we can leave it there. But after 2 years, sometimes, like, I mean, I look at KFC, there's not a blade of grass anywhere around there. Canadian Tire took all their planters out, put concrete in. So yeah, looks good on day one when the building's built, but what does it look like in 2 or 3 years down the road? I just throw that out there. I just think that it's, I think it's, we put in effort that doesn't pay its dividends in the end.
Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
Thank you. I guess with what you're saying, and you look farther down to 3.12.2 and 3, that after, if it doesn't survive after 2 growing seasons, must replace it. You know, it's another one of these things that if we're not monitoring them all, and if we're not, I've seen a couple in the industrial area that did have trees originally, like you said, they die, they never get replaced. So to put that much, you know, maybe again, this needs to be changed to say within the first 3 years of your building, or I don't know, something, but I can certainly see that if we can't enforce something or we're not enforcing something, then why do we have it in a bylaw?
I'm just gonna throw something else out there, is, should this be something that is only from a residential point of view as opposed to a commercial industrial point of view? It makes sense on an apartment complex next door to a house to have a little bit of division between that parking lot, but does it make sense on a large commercial or large industrial scale? just food for thought.
Because I know on page 17, we do require it for residential, like 1 tree, 3 shrubs.
Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
Thank you. And I guess on that point, I have a very limited front yard. When we bought the house, it didn't have a tree, or I guess it had 2 shrubs in the front of the house, but I don't have the space to be putting things like that. So how do we police it, so to speak, if it doesn't happen? I get the point, like, I would like to see more trees and more green, and you know, it makes the community look much nicer, but is it something that we can do maybe on a more of a case-to-case? Something that could be a landscaping plan should be implemented based on these guidelines, but will be reviewed on a case-by-case basis. I don't know, maybe that's too much fishing, I don't know.
Councillor Schiffel.
Yeah, well, I agree with Councillor Hutchinson. I think we start micromanaging this stuff too much, and we don't have any way of checking up on it. And it's short-lived gain, long-term pain. And for a developer, we as a town ask them for not only a landscaping plan, we ask them for a security deposit, and then you have to wait 2 years before you get that money back, because you gotta wait the time limit. I think it's 2 years. And so from a developer's perspective, if it's a big lot, you may have a $10,000 or $12,000 chunk of money, and I'm not, it's probably, is it just a security you have to give, a security letter? But there's still a cost to that, so, I don't know. If I seen this stuff staying in place, I would be really excited about it, but I don't see, I got many examples around town where it was there from day one, and now it's a weed bed or whatever. Peter Crosley's building, the lawyer's building, out front there's a planter, and it's the most beautiful crop of dandelions heading in there. I just don't, I really think we need to not micromanage as much on some of this stuff and open it up. That's a personal philosophy. You know, often you hear the town's too much into my business or into what I can do, and I think there's some examples in here of that. So I think we just need to scale back a bit and go that route. So anyway, I just threw that out there. I think this whole landscaping area for commercial buildings needs to have a look at.
Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
Yeah, I was just gonna make that comment as well. Maybe it's, that section of landscaping could be put forward to service level review and a bigger discussion. Maybe it looks at incentives for new development to put in, I know here we're throwing more incentives at staff again, but, you know, that these are the landscaping designs, this is what we would like in the municipality, and here's I don't know, some type of incentive to do it and to keep it living.
Councillor Schiffel.
Thank you, sir. I just got a question about a word that's used in here. I have no idea what it means. I didn't have time to Google it. In number 6, number 7, exerscaped, what is it?
Xeriscaping, Councillor Schiffel.
Oh, xeriscaping.
Yeah. It's kind of, the idea of it is, it's like landscaping for your property, but instead of being like trees and shrubs, it's like it's type of landscaping that doesn't need a lot of water. It's very low maintenance.
May I, Acting Mayor?
Yep.
Yes, xeriscaping, low maintenance, low water, but with a particular emphasis on native plants that are drought resistant, as opposed to labor-intensive, maintenance-intensive plantings.
Thank you.
So, Acting Mayor, just to make,
Yes.
you know, just for direction-wise, like, so are we wanting to take out the residential requirement, number 3, on page 17, under 3.111. Just one, and then also on top of page 18, or number 3, A to G.
I think it makes sense on a residential point of view, but what we're looking here is the commercial industrial. Does it make sense to have that soft landscaping requirements on commercial industrial, or should it be hard landscaping that doesn't require any maintenance? Councillor Shipple.
Thank you. I agree that the residential landscaping should stay in place
Stay in
somewhat.
place. Okay.
I think it gives enough versatility. The commercial one, the A to G, I mean, trees grow. You plant a tree in front of your business, and in 5 years from now, if the thing is 6 feet taller and you block in your view, you pretty much guaranteed the power saw is coming out. So I just question that whole area as to what we're looking for and what we're accomplishing. Yeah, it's going to look pretty. It's going to look nice on day one, but a couple, 3 or 4 years down the road, maybe not so much. So I think we just need to be more open to that. I mean, you can do landscaping plans with hard landscaping, all the trees and shrubs. We built our building and all the trees, all the shrubs in the back, they're still back there dead as a doornail. I don't know. I'm sure there's other businesses around town that have got examples like that. I just think we just need to be more mellow on that whole landscaping thing, so I put it out there just to mellow it down.
Okay, so what do we want to do as council? Are we in agreement with that? Do we have other modifications? Do we want to leave it as is? I agree that on the residential side, yes, it needs to stay, but on the commercial industrial, I think we need to look at something different.
Acting Mayor.
Yes.
So instead of then the trees and the shrubs, are we requiring them to hard landscape then as far as rocks, or we just let it be bare brown, or what's the?
Councillor Musker.
Thank you. Yeah, there needs to be some expectation of landscaping, or it's just going to be dirt and weeds. So I'm not sure what that looks like. I like the idea of Deputy Mayor Hutchinson sending it to service level, where we can have a more fulsome discussion regarding the whole landscaping section of the LUB. Those are just my comments.
Councillor Shipple.
The only reason I feel that we shouldn't go to service level review is that we're redoing the land use bylaw now, and that'll prolong that, so I think we just need to tweak it. I think rather than saying you have to have this, it's suggested that you have this. I think the word suggested in the front top statement, and not must. I think it's just a bit of a word change, and then it's still all there. If they want to put it in, they can, and if they don't, they don't. Every landowner looks at landscaping in a different eye. And so if you drive around town, you'll see some who have given it 110%, and some who have given it 5% or 0%. So, and the longer these buildings are out there, the older they get, there's a decline in the landscaping and what it looks like. Our own trees on Main Street are a perfect example of when you put them up, they look great, and how they look today. So I think that we just need to be more cautious in how we do that, and I think in this case, not regimented, but suggested.
Councillor Musker.
Thank you. So how do we ensure a minimum standard?
There is no minimum standard, because what you put up today could be gone tomorrow. So, tree grows tall, you take the power saw and cut it out. It's not there. That was the standard of the day, but it's not the standard down the road. So I don't think, unless we're going to enforce an ongoing standard, then there really is no standard. So.
Acting Mayor? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, we'll go with.
Just on
Mr.
point
Schrader
6,
and
it says, "All parts of a parcel not covered by building, driveways, parking areas, pedestrian circulation, storage, display areas, and not part of the minimum required landscape area shall be seeded to grass, sodded, cultivated as a garden." So I'm not sure if that covers the, instead of having it brown, it may cover, if you're not gonna do the suggested shrubs and trees, you have to have a sodded grass area, which may turn to weeds in the future, but, we are, making them do the sod and vegetative areas.
Councillor Busker.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Director Schrader. That does address my concern,
okay.
so thank you.
Councillor Ald.
Just because I wasn't prepared for this discussion, I'm not being silent, I'm just recusing myself from this conversation due to potential conflict.
Yep. No, I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you for that comment. So what I'm hearing is if we put in the word suggested for industrial commercial, I just want to make sure that council's okay before we start directing administration to do things. Mr. Kraus, it looks like you had something to say.
Well, this is a bylaw, so suggested doesn't really
Okay.
work, I mean, you can reference our design guidelines, and so forth. But really, what the land use bylaw is council's tool to build your community as council envisions it, right? So the previous council, they wanted more of a greenscape type of community, right? So hence, it went into the commercial district. So it's really around that discussion. What does council envision the community to look like 30 years from now? And maybe for this council, trees in the commercial area are not important. So then if it's not, then, then let's not make it a requirement. So it's really council's vision. If it doesn't work and council can't foresee it working, then let's remove it. But just trying to bring it back to it's how council wants to envision our community to be. Like if this is, for example, the city of St. Albert, they call themselves the Botanical City. So they're definitely going to enforce and put all this into their commercial area. But maybe that's not the vision for this council. So I just encourage council to keep that vision in mind as we go through this. This is how you want your community developed. If that makes sense.
Councillor Shippold.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. To Mr. Kraus, I think you're right. I would like to see that. But if we're not going to enforce it, we only have it for a short, limited time at a new construction, after new construction, 2 years basically. Then after that, it can disappear. So unless we're going to enforce it, I don't see how we can have a long-term vision, because Canadian Tire is a perfect example. All the parking curbs that were in there that had flowers in them are all now all concrete. So,
Yeah, and then that comes to the question, if that's what council wants, then we got to figure out how to enforce it. But it's really what council desires and how we're going to manage that. We might come back and say, if you really want this, and you want this enforced, we need another X employee, and that's a budget item. So council needs to weigh that, so.
So I'm not sure if we're any further along or further behind in this discussion right now. Councillor Shippold.
I'm going to recommend that we take it out. That we have reduce our standard of landscaping. Not that we take it 100% out. The tree part we take out and then come up with other suggestions. So we just rework that whole tree area.
What is everyone thinking about that suggestion? So because we have the grass part in here, that would still stay in. You're just taking the tree portion of the landscaping. Is that what you're suggesting? Okay.
Yeah, no, I think administration is hearing what council is saying, so we just need to go back and redraft and say, did we get this right? Like, some landscaping, but not to the extent that we require now, is basically what we're hearing, if I'm correct.
Okay, so we're okay to move on, or do
Nope.
you have more questions? Okay.
Next, sorry, you're on page 23, I'm on page 19.
Oh, yeah.
19 is grading and drainage, and this is just an easy question. At one time, we enforced stormwater retention ponds on property. And there's, when it talks about grading and drainage, there's no reference to stormwater retention ponds in our bylaw. Do we not have stormwater retention ponds anymore on developments, or how does that work?
That'd be part of the development agreement in regards to
Okay.
their subdivision. No.
Would a 3-acre parcel land need a development permit then?
I'd have to ask engineer for that. I can't answer that question for you.
Mr. Kraus, with
believe
your
so, it would.
expertise?
Clarification on the question.
So I'm just wondering about stormwater retention ponds and how small of a piece of land you have to develop before you're required to put a stormwater retention pond in. Because if it hinges on a development permit, and if you have a Sobeys lot that you buy that's or a highway commercial lot you buy that's 4 acres, do you have to worry about storm retention on that 4 acres or not? Stormwater retention.
There's a lot of variables to that question, that we would have to look at. So typically, an area is developed in accordance to an area structure plan. And in that area structure plan, storm drainage would be addressed, and a storm retention pond would probably be required somewhere in that area structure plan for the whole development area. Now, if you're starting to narrow that down to a lot, we're hoping it's part of an area structure plan where it would flow off the lot into the drainage, storm drainage system into a retention pond. So if you're talking like a 3-acre lot of highway commercial, it'd be, I would say, unlikely that you would have to have a storm retention pond on your site, as it should be somehow connected to the municipal storm water system. I would need a specific piece of property, Councillor Schipel, to really.
The only reason I ask is there's a variable, some properties have stormwater retention ponds, some don't around town, and so I'm just looking what determines if you do or don't need a stormwater retention pond.
And I would say it's adjacent lands and what municipal infrastructure is in place.
Okay.
You could have a industrial lot that backs onto wetlands, and you'd probably require some type of retention pond versus just disposing into a wetland, for example.
Are we okay to move on then?
Yeah, and just, sorry, so you gotta remember this land use bylaw, we're zeroing down to lots, right? Versus, the higher level
Correct.
type of planning documents, yeah.
Correct, and that's the way I was envisioning it when I looked at why there was not if there was a larger lot, why it wouldn't mention stormwater retention pond in the water drainage area. Under grading and drainage, if there was a need for it, because it doesn't have any mention whatsoever in there of that.
No, it is definitely written for more of a smaller, like a lot where it doesn't address it, it's silent on that, I guess.
So should it be, I guess is the question?
There definitely could be a provision in there. I would have to look for the wording of it in the conditions that we may require a stormwater pond.
Presently, when, say, we get an inquiry regarding a lot, we will take the size of the lot and we'll ask engineering, does this need a stormwater management plan? And usually, if it's a small enough lot, you'll say no, it all depends, like I said, if there's curb and gutter and where the stormwater is. As you get larger, of course, that's when, engineering and ops gets involved in regards to what's required.
We've had some commercial buildings who've been flooded out in town with water coming off adjacent lots in the past. And they built walls and done whatever after the fact. I'm just wondering if before the fact, we should take that into contemplation. Maybe we should just add something in there just in case. We're built on a hill, so it's really easy to ship your water to your neighbor. And so I just want to make sure that we've addressed that in this land use bylaw.
So would that addition reference area structure plans and engineering? Is that how that would?
I think for the land use bylaw, and using Councillor Shipp's example, we'd be narrowing it down to like a lot, not necessarily an area structure.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right.
Okay. Do you have more questions before we hit page 23?
I'm on page 23, you're on page 23.
Okay.
My question's about Canada Post. We have Canada Post in there, but do we have jurisdiction on Canada Post? And so I think that's a mute subject, so I just question that.
Where is that in,
Page 23, 3.26
Okay.
mailboxes.
Councillor Ald.
Just want to say I agree with Councillor Shipple. If we don't have jurisdiction on it, which obviously we don't, not a lot of point in having it in there.
So just, Mr. Kraus, is there any reason why we wouldn't be able to remove that?
I guess I'm reading that differently. And that, what's throwing me off is two households or businesses, but what I'm thinking is if you take like an apartment complex or whatever, the requirement to have post boxes within the building to provide mail service to the residents. You know what I mean? Like it's right in there. I think, but it's saying two or more households, so that doesn't make sense, so. We could probably scrap it.
Well, especially if somebody wanted to build an apartment on the east side of Highway 11. You're not gonna
It's not
get,
happening.
it's not happening.
Maybe that's what needs to happen.
Okay, so go ahead, Mr. Schwader.
So on page 24, under outdoor hot tubs and swimming pools, we just, it said that the manufactured home district could allow pools and more, or hot tubs in the front. We're just saying, you know, take it out and it has to be in the back like everyone else. Okay. Well, on page 26, is this referring to solar power in regards to projections? That's probably a majority of our development permits now is solar power in regards to within our community. Probably had at least a dozen so far this year. So, in regards to CCANs on the bottom, page 27.
Just Councillor Ald has a
Sorry.
question.
Mr. Schwader, so would that, I'm just wondering about the number 4 in there, not located on a wall with a front parcel boundary.
Right.
So that would be like, say, for example, on my street, 57th Street, I couldn't have it on the west side of the home. It would have to be on the back side of the home,
I think it's referring to your front of your house, like the front.
the actual front.
Front of your, not your front of your roof.
Okay, thank you.
So in regards to CCANs, residential districts, we don't allow them in residential districts, and we'll continue to do that. In all other districts, they are allowed, but it was kind of a quirky little it used to be 3 years and you had to take it off and you can apply again and bring it back on. We're just eliminating that completely. And it's, once you get your permit, you're good to go for that CCAN on your property. So you don't have to have a temporary or for 3 years and reapply for that. In regards to.
Counselor Shipple has a
Oh,
question.
yep.
Sorry, I'm gonna back up one more time to dog kennels.
Okay.
The one prior, okay? 3.34 dog kennels. And my question comes with the distance from a dog kennel to anything else. And we have 150 meters, 492 feet. That seems a little restrictive. In our industrial area, if you were to put a dog kennel in there, the lots aren't that wide. You would have to have substantial. So I know this is in residential areas, but a lot of times we have a new kennel coming in, or a place now that's adjacent to residential. On 47th Avenue. I just question the fact of if 150 meters is a little much for dog kenneling. I guess where I'm at is that I look at it, if you got 100 feet between myself and a dog kenneling, even 50 feet. If a dog's barking, you can be 200 feet away and you're still gonna hear it, or you're gonna be 300 feet away. I just think it's too restrictive. And it neuters the property around it, or where you could put one. So I guess what I'd like to see is just a reduction from 150 meters to 50 meters. I'm not sure everybody else is on that one.
Counselor Auld.
With this, the way this is written right now, that would make the new dog kennel not an option where it's going.
Sorry,
Sorry, where the new dog kennel's going on 47th, would
Right.
that not make it not allowed there right now?
I don't think it's considered a dog kennel.
Oh,
Through Deputy Mayor Phillips to Councillor Auld, that one wasn't approved as a kennel. Where it becomes a kennel is if dogs or animals are being kept overnight or for a 24-hour period. So these regulations wouldn't apply to that use. It was kind of like it's meant to be a daycare for people coming into work and who want somebody to look after their dog just for the day while they're. But specifically, there's a condition on that permit where they can't keep them overnight.
Counselor Shipple, did you have
So-
another question?
Yes, to Councillor All's point, though, the dogs are gonna be there during the majority of the day at the one that's proposed now. I don't see a big difference between that and a kennel in terms of if they're inside overnight. I don't know. I just think that, again, 50 meters is ample, 150 is too much. I think we're over-managing. I still recommend 50 meters.
Yeah, Mr. Fitzsimmons, did you have something to add to that?
I don't have anything. We haven't really, on our end, we haven't dealt with too many applications on kennels specifically, but yeah, no, I got nothing else to on that one.
Okay, what does council think on that proposed amendment from 150 meters down to 50? Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
Thank you. Could we just add may instead of must? Kennels may be set back a minimum distance? And then they'd be looked at, especially because we don't have a big demand to have. Dale's shaking his head no.
I would think
Shall?
that, I would think that would be too ambiguous of a statement.
Hmm?
Yeah. Counselor Musker.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to leave it at 150 meters. I know it's a lot, but it's only, 50 is not much if you've got a kennel next door. As far as I'm concerned, the more the merrier. More meters, the better.
Counselor Auld.
I'd just be concerned if all of a sudden somebody in a residential area wanted to erect a dog kennel, and you have neighbors on both sides that are gonna be affected by it. I'm I don't know, I'm kinda leaning with Councilor Musker.
Counselor Shipple.
So 150 meters, 150 feet, so that's the same as having 3 residential lots on both sides of you. So definitely not permitted in a residential area unless you're adjacent to a commercial area or industrial area where there could be there. So if you were to take the Sponberg property to North End and they had dogs in there, their lot's probably not big enough for 450 feet to have dogs in that, whatever it's called now, the Sponberg area. It's fenced, it's everything, but again, because of the way the bylaw reads, they couldn't have dogs in there. So I just say that 50 meters is ample. A lot like that Sponberg property, who owns that, Volstar? Vistar? Okay. So if that, for example, was to have dogs, they wouldn't have enough room there to have dogs. It's not wide enough at the 150 meters. So I just think it's just too restrictive.
And it's the Sponberg property or it's highway commercial up there, which is not allowed per
Okay.
se, but they're only allowed in industrial, kennels are. So ideally, you know, we've got the Roar Society as far as a kennel out in the industrial area. And I guess if along 43rd Street, if it backed out onto, say Hasco developed their property for residentials, I guess that'd be the closest, you know, looking
Okay.
in regards to highway commercial or industrial kennel close to a residential area. So, but I think as far as the outline plan, there was industrial between, you know, as far as it looks right now, between residential and, say, the 43rd Street industrial area. But, so.
Counselor Shipple.
I'm still at 50. And I appreciate you pointing out
Yeah.
that I picked that piece of property
Yep.
just as an example. The second part of that is hopefully that if somebody came and wanted to put that kind of a business into that property, that we would not turn them down. So,
Well, it would have to be brought to council in
Correct.
regards to
Correct.
changing the LUB.
I mean, at this point, I think we need to look at all opportunities for business. And so, anyway, if council wants to leave it at 150, I guess we're leaving it at 150.
Okay, so page 28, is that what you're on?
Just in 28, 3.35.6, the Development Authority may require security for a CCAN to ensure the condition of the development permit are adhered to. So this is from the past in regards to there's been some CCANs put in certain locations. Part of the DP was to either paint it or, you know, spruce up to meet the aesthetics of the neighborhood or that type of stuff. We'd like to put that in there just to be able to collect a fee to make sure that they do that according to the DP.
Counselor Shipple.
I'm sorry, you were acting mayor. So in this part of the bylaw, we have some businesses that have trucks with wheels underneath them for storage, movable sea-cans, so to speak. That isn't covered off in here anywhere. And so that's one question, is where would we cover that off? The second thing is, how many can you have on a piece of property? We talk about sea-cans, but there's no limitation. So some businesses have significant amount of non-taxable storage on their properties. And so I think that sometimes we need to have limitations as to how many they can have. Is 10 or 12 too many on a piece of property? In my mind, I think it could be. Do we have it? Yes. So I would just like to see some limitations put into the bylaw as to maybe a percentage of the floor space of the business could be allowed in that kind of storage. And so, and the addition of sea-cans on wheels.
So am I hearing this correct as far as you like to have, say, 8 or the trucks or the trailers to be limited on the base of the square footage of the building like 10% of this, like, just throwing numbers out as far as this for clarification in regards to,
I'm not an expert on this one, but I'm hoping that
So-
maybe you, maybe. I just think that after a while, there gets to be too many. And what that too many is, I have no idea. But somehow something relative to floor space may be a way of controlling it.
Floor space or yard space?
Square footage of the freestanding building, or the building on site, a proportionate amount. And if it's 10%, that might be a bit much. It might be more like 5%, but something within reason.
Counselor Ald.
I think you'd have to go on the lot size, not the building size, wouldn't you? Like if, just take my building, for example, 7,500 square feet, if I'm allowed 10% of that in C-cans, that's 2. That may not be enough for somebody. But if you go by the lot size, I think you'd still control it, but
Counselor Shipple.
Yeah, thank you, Acting Mayor. I'm okay with Councillor All's thought processes, and maybe if you, elaborate as to what would be more fair. I have no idea what it is, but, or if administration can come back. I think it just, someplace there needs to be a period at the end of the statement. It can't go on and on forever. We're worried about trees and green and what it looks like, but then we pile a yard full of stuff, so, we defeat the purpose. I just think someplace there needs to be a limitation on this. I agree they should be painted and they should look similar to what the building is, for sure.
I would suggest this would be on lot size as opposed to building size. So is that something that we can look at and have brought back?
yeah,
Yes. Okay.
I'll maybe compare it to both lot size and building size, and just kind of see.
So I just have a question on C-cans. I know the football club has discussed that they maybe want to add another C-can to where they are. How would that be impacted by what we do here in the land use bylaw?
Wow, go ahead, Michael.
Through to Deputy Mayor Shippold, if these amendments,
Oh.
Deputy Mayor, sorry, apologies, Deputy Mayor Phillips. If this amendment did go through, it passed 3 readings, and if another application was received, the new rules would apply to that new permit, if there was one submitted, so.
I was just wondering, would it be allowed because it's,
Right.
that would be, I'm not sure if that would even be allowed to have another C-can added to to that area.
I think 'cause it's public in that area.
Yeah, it's a discretionary use. So it'd be, they could submit an application, it'd be up to the Development Authority to make a decision on it, and those new amended sections would apply to the permit.
Yeah, I just want to make sure if there's something coming down the road that we don't impact it by something we do today.
Okay.
Yeah.
So on page 30, we've added data processing centers to this area. We've kind of have 4 stipulations there, and we've kind of reached out and looked at other communities, what they had in their bylaws in regards to data processing. I think it's fairly straightforward, except noise issue, if there's a noise issue in regards to data processing centers. So we've just added that to that section. Any questions regarding data processing?
Nope, not seeing any.
Good. So on page 40, we've kind of added window signs. In regards to if you want to cover up your window, we're going to limit you to 50% in commercial and industrial, 25% on the second floor. Any questions regarding this?
Counselor Shipple.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I have questions about that, but before that, on page 37, under signs, 5.171, all signs must be erected on or directly in front of the site in which they relate. I drive around town, I see signs everywhere. I think this is a mute statement. McDonald's the other day had theirs parked in front of Kachina, that they're now open. I think in today's world, it's hard enough to survive. I think this is something we need not police, and I think we should remove that statement. I think most people park their signs in front of their businesses, but those that don't usually are there temporarily, and I mean, no different than real estate signs or open houses. You see the sign go block after block after block. Although they fall under different regulations, I don't see this being any different. So I think that 5.1.7, just, we're not going to police it. Why have it?
Counselor Butzker.
Yes, thank you. If we were to remove this section, Mr. Schrader, what would prevent a business from erecting a permanent sign wherever they
Yeah,
felt
I was
like?
going to say, you'd have signs everywhere throughout the community.
That's what I thought.
And, you know, and I'm not saying, yeah, it can happen now. And in regards to the one you referred to, we did call them in regards when we noticed it, in regards to the sign. I know they're having a grand opening and they put it there. And that's what happens. If we don't notice the sign, they'll stay there for a bit. I know peace officers, when they're out and about, we always ask them to, if they see something, let us know. As far as letting people put signs wherever they want, I would discourage that, just in regards to it'll be a hodgepodge of signs up and down the highway and stuff like that. And I guess we want to try to keep the community as neat as possible, but also we will have our own directional signs that people will be signed to death if there's going to be signs out and about. So I would keep it in, but I can just recommend.
Counselor Shipple.
I understand where you're at. I guess I'm more of the thought of economic development and what it does and how we bring people into our community. And I personally have no problem with signs being all over the place. Signs of a vibrant community and a vibrant business community. I think we need to be more proactive in terms of allowing our business people to be out there, out and about. And if that's how they find activity in their business, I think that's a good thing. I think it's an opportunity for taking on economic development within our community and driving it. I mean, we can always go back and change it if what your scenario you're painting is correct, where we got signs all over the place, then for sure we can go back. I don't think that'll be where it's at, so.
Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
Thank you. I would like to see it stay in. I'd hate to have, a battle of the signs where, like you said, there was one business that had his business in front of the other burger store, and then he decides that, well, he's gonna put a sign over in front of the next guy's store, and I just think it's something that we have in place. I think it keeps things tidy.
More thoughts on this one? To me, this creates a fine line between, having a business be able to promote themselves and having a community that is appeasing and looks good as people come into the community. So I'm kind of torn on this one, whether it should or shouldn't be in there. Councillor Alt.
Thanks, David. Acting Mayor, if it's not in here, then we have no recourse to actually have somebody clean up their mess. That's what we need to be able to have enforcement on it and without having it in here in some form, and we can't tell somebody to get rid of it.
Okay, Counselor Schiffel.
I think we move on.
Acting Mayor.
Oh, Counselor Alt, sorry.
Mr. Schwader, before we move on from window signs, I just need clarification. Commercial district, window signs shall be limited to the first and second story of the building, not exceed 50% of the window area of the primary building face. So my shop, for example, I've got all the windows out front and down the sides, but they're 100, the windows themselves are 100% covered with advertising decals. So with this, would I have to remove those decals?
Correct. So that might be a little harsh, and we just threw it in here, Renee and I, whether you guys want to do this or not, it's up to you guys. If you think we're being a little heavy-handed in regards to this, then like Councilor Alt, like yours is quite professional, like done. You know, our thing was as far as it not being professional in a building. So,
Counselor Schiffel.
Well, thanks, Councillor Oaks. I had you on my list of places that have decals in their windows. But provincial law mandates that all marijuana shops have to have 100% deckling and no vision into the building. So this bylaw overrides provincial bylaws. So to begin with, it's inappropriate. Secondly to that, we have Napa, the dollar store, the pet store. There's several businesses that have 100% deckling on their windows already. And I think that we should leave it at 100%. I don't think it should be at 50%. And again, two reasons. Number one, provincial marijuana stores have to be fully,
and they would trump us.
they would trump you.
Yeah.
So I think this bylaw here is, again, just needs to be tweaked to 100%.
Mr.
Yeah,
Kraus.
no, correct. We need to relook at this one too, considering we just have a program to do window wraps on it.
Yeah.
So,
And
we'll
maybe-
revisit this.
Okay.
And maybe the reference is allowing 100% with, but it needs to be visually appealing. Can't be left to be run down.
In whose opinion?
That's a good question. Yeah.
So just to clarify, 5.8.3, is it 100% and 50% then? Or just? Or are we removing that?
Can be worded in such a fashion that window wraps can just happen and no percentages whatsoever? Can we just sort of tweak it so that it doesn't have a number in it? That way nobody can hang their hat on any number and it just flows.
As long as it's visually
I-
appealing?
I know it's, yes. I guess the question comes around, it is a bylaw and it needs to be black and white in numbers, so if it has to be, so be it, but if it doesn't need to be, then I would suggest no numbers.
Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
So you're saying that it cannot exceed 100% of the window area, so, or 50% of a secondary building face? So in other words, you're saying no wrap or no deckling or anything on any windows at all?
No, I'm saying 100, you can deck the whole thing.
Okay, because that's,
Sorry.
if we change it to 100% and 50%, then that's how I was wording, or reading it,
Totally, I can see how you got that.
yeah. So it's 100%, commercial, industrial are allowed to have 100% window deckling, and 50% of a secondary building face, correct?
But I do think we need to add in there some verbiage towards visually appealing, because these window wraps the sun can do a number on these things very quickly. Just to be able to not allow something to sit up for 10 years and become an eyesore. Councillor Hall.
But you could just say, in good repair. You don't, it doesn't have to
Yeah,
be.
something like that.
You keep the visual or opinions out of it and just in good repair.
Good repair, yeah, that works. Okay, We can move on then, Mr. Schrader.
Okay, page 42. And this falls under the Rural Residential District, RR. It's just more of a clarification. The way it was written before, it was unclear. So parcels intended to be served by a private sewage collection system or by a private water distribution system shall have a minimum parcel of 2 acres. Okay, and then the second one was parcels with a minimum parcel under 2 acres must connect to the town's water distribution system and sewage collection system unless allowed otherwise at the discretion of the Development Authority. Okay.
Counselor Sheffield, was your light on for a question? No, okay.
I'm just flipping until I hit the next red one. So on page 57, under commercial districts, core commercial, we've added a couple of new uses. Contractor services without outdoor storage, and data processing center minor. And we'll get to the definitions for minor and major in regards to data processing. Also on page 58, we've added electric vehicle charging station, group home, monument, and parking facility. We has added facility to the use there, and then sign window. On page 59, 7.13.4, minimum building height. So this is where it comes back. Previous council, they wanted 2-story on Main Street or a facade. So we've eliminated that from the bylaw. We kind of compared it to other communities. A lot of other communities have 1-story, 2-story. It's a hodgepodge of different levels, so. Okay. Also on page 60, for secondary or for a secondary residence or a dwelling, we're suggesting that be located at the rear of the property if located on the main floor of a non-residential use. Before, we were mandating them to have a 2nd-story residence, but if someone wants to either build or buy the building and then live at the back, we're saying it's allowed. Okay? And we've had some inquiries regarding that, and they just never proceeded through the LUB process. So we're saying, well, let's be proactive and put it into the LUB. On page 61, we've just added a few uses to discretionary. Under local commercial, we're saying a monument is allowed in permitted uses. Highway commercial district, we've added a few more uses. Contractor services with outdoor storage, contractor services without outdoor storage, and data processing center minor. EV charging station, monument, and the sign window. Page 67, we comment on the Development Authority may require fencing or landscaping to screen outdoor storage. Okay. So in regards to the landscaping, like, it's based on screening the actual storage. It's not mandating them to have landscaping for the development. It's for screening. On page 68, we also added in highway commercial, you can do a dwelling at the back of the property in this section as well. Industrial districts, we've added some, we had contractor services, but we did without outdoor storage. EV charging stations, discretionary uses. We just did some alphabetical correction there. Here's where we have data processing center major and minor. The definitions are in the back that we'll get to for major and minor. Monument, personal service, we've added to industrial. Other districts, we just have, in public, we've done electric vehicle charging stations and monuments. Environmental EO, we've added a monument to that as well, just in case, say, along the river, someone wanted to put a statue of something along the river, it would be allowed. future development, same thing. Brownfield overlay, we just corrected a lot block and plan in regards to this property. On page 83, we just changed the appeal board or tribunal as per the MGA.
I see Councillor Shipple has a question.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Mr. Schrader, on page 77, there's two specific land two lots that are named on here, specific. Why are we naming lots specific? Why are they so unique that we need to have them lot specific like that versus them falling into our entire bylaw?
I'm not sure if Mr. Cross is that, were we mandated to put that in there? I don't know, it was just in the previous LUB, so we just continued it on, so I don't know if it's correct or not, Councillor Shipple. Like,
They're lot specific, so I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
Through Deputy Mayor Phillips to Councillor Shipple, just to possibly, hopefully, help out and elaborate on this. I believe it's because there is a section under some of these where they can't, like if they're building an accessory building, they have to have like a permanent foundation because of the ground. So I think that's why they were specifically put in there. 'Cause if the lot was zoned industrial, but it's on a brown, or on an overlay district, they'd need to have that, they'd have to build so it's on a permanent foundation, like they can't have a basement or they can't have floors underneath. That might be why, but, yeah, I'm not sure. It's something that was just in the previous bylaws over time.
Is it possible for us just to get clarification on the two that are specific in here, two lots, just to why they'd be in there, or Mr. Kraus, maybe you know more?
We would have to verify, but I'm saying it's contaminated land, so there's a lot of restrictions on it, like you're not gonna put a well in and whatever, you're not gonna disturb the soil. So I would think it's probably more of an environmental issue, but we'll verify that. I'm just looking at the wording and surmising from that, so.
Okay, thank you.
on page 85.8, just in regards to the accessory building structure, we're bringing it up to code in regards to the building code. We used to have 102 square feet. We're bringing it up to 108 square feet, so it makes it more user-friendly if someone's out there wanting to build 108 square foot.
Oh, Councillor Shipple.
Right, on the bottom of that page 85, where it says non-conforming building and uses, 11.4.1, I'm just questioning the 6 months. If somebody moves out of a building and by the time you get everything put together, 6 months goes by fairly quick. I'm not sure if that shouldn't be 12 months because it requires a new development permit. I'm just thinking about saving money for if the use is the same, which was non-conforming to begin with. If we go to 12 months, at least gives somebody time to get their stuff together. So I'm just thinking about changing that to 12 months versus 6 months.
I'll have to verify, but I think that's right out of the MGA for non-conforming buildings.
Okay.
We can continue on, Mr. Schrader.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, you can continue on.
Okay, sorry.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm just gonna hit the highlights here. In regards to page 92, 11.12.6. It says from the MGA in regards to when we can withdraw a development permit. The appeal process in 94, I think Renee just took out subdivision and development through there. added 11.14.7. On page 97, we added, the public hearing will be advertised and held in accordance with the town's council procedural bylaw and act. That was just passed a couple weeks ago. In regards to contravention enforcement, page 98, we're just referring to the fines. That's in this bylaw. On page 100. In all the years, we've never issued a fine, but we have them for if we need to. Just in the definitions, on page 102, we put an appeal board or tribunal. Parcel coverage, we just revamped that a bit in regards to coverage on a parcel. Patio we've added. Taken out subdivision and appeal. Accessory building or structure. This is in regards to, say, someone has an empty lot and they want to build a garage first before a residence. And the reason that we had someone approach us about a month ago in regards to they have a lot, it's a double lot, garage is built on one side, they want to subdivide it. You know, with this ruling the way it is now, they wouldn't be able to subdivide it because you couldn't have a garage on a lot. You know, if we go ahead with this, we could include with this, say, a development permit is required within 18 months for a dwelling. If you want to, enforce them building a dwelling, a principal building on that lot. So we could add a DP is required 18 months.
Councillor Sheffield.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I don't think we need to do that. I mean, from a neighbor's perspective, it's gonna look the same. You won't know that there's a new line drawn on a piece of paper someplace indicating 2 lots. So visually, they will see likely no difference, so.
But I guess my question would be is if I bought an empty lot and I put a garage first, and it in an established residence and say there's an empty lot and I put a garage there, do I sit there with a garage for a certain amount of time, or do we care, I guess, if someone just has a garage on that lot? for
Deputy Mayor
storage or-
Hutchinson.
I've been to other municipalities where they've got lots that have a garage on them that's been there for a number of years, and they plant potatoes in the whole front yard. I see it's not even, I don't feel it's important to put in there.
Okay, I just wanted clarification on that, so, okay. Animal hospital, we've added a few for regarding retail sales. Contracted services, we added some examples as far as indoor, outdoor storage. So data processing on 115, data processing center minor, data processing center major. So we broke it down to square foot. I don't know if that's correct or not, but we've actually, kind of looked at other communities, and this more or less came from the states as far as some of this examples. So whether, we're saying minor is less than 5,000 square feet or less, and then anything more than 5,000 is a data center major. Minor is allowed in highway commercial and local or core commercial. Data processing center majors in industrial. Okay.
Okay, before you go on, we do have a closed session that we have to be in at 2:30, so I think I'm gonna just kind of pause this right now. And we'll take a quick 5-minute break, and then we'll be able to do our closed session at 2:30.
Okay.
The email's right above this email. Highway 11, twinning, the functional study.
Hi, Paul, can you hear me?
You hear me okay?
Yes, there you are. The error was on my end.
Okay. I was going to say good, but I'm glad we fixed the error, whether it was my end or yours.
We're not quite ready for you yet, so if you want to mute yourself, and you can listen in on this room, and then you'll hear your cue.
Perfect.
Great.
Okay, we are back to our live session, and I'm just looking for a motion to go into closed session. Counselor Ald is making the motion to go into closed session. Okay, any discussion? All those in favor? And we are now in closed session. then we'll just resume Mr. Schwader's presentation. No, he left. Okay, so we are back in live session. We've come out of closed session, and we are going to continue on with our presentation on the land use bylaw. And Mr. Schwader will continue where he left off on page 115.
Was that on 115, 116?
115.
Well, 115, that was the data processing center, so any questions regarding a minor or major?
Not seeing any.
Okay. Just have a definition on 116 for EV charging. Manufactured home, we added that meets Canadian Standards Association. Monument, there's a description of a definition for monument. Personal service, we just kind of made it a little more user-friendly, I guess, for businesses wanting to set up for personal service. We kind of limited what we're indicating for what the uses could be. Also with office as well, we've kind of reworded that a bit as well. Sign window definition there. Page 124, we just added regarding Alberta Fire Code. And Schedule B, we just added a few extra uses there, as well as on page 127.
Okay, so that is the changes that we have proposed. Do we have any other questions, concerns, comments on what we had the presentation on today? Councillor Schippold.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. My question's for Mr. Kraus. I know Mr. Kraus's previous life was in planning. And when I read through this and I hear what the complaints of the community are in terms of planning and how they feel, is there a reduced version of a land use bylaw anywhere that you've worked that is not as, it seems wordy and drawn out, and it's really, when I read it, it doesn't seem user-friendly. I can see being somebody coming in here and getting the land use bylaw and trying to read through it and determine it, what you can do and can't do, as a bit of a hiccup. So I don't know if there's a version that is easier to follow or less, or is this the norm and this is how it's got to be, and so I tap into your expertise to get a feeling.
Acting Mayor to Councillor Schippold, this is a pretty typical land use bylaw. You do get pretty wordy and technical because it's trying to cover such a broad spectrum of area of uses and lots. I would say there may be more of a trend that's starting to make it objective based versus prescriptive based, and you're starting to see that emerge. Following suit with the Alberta Building Code, actually. It's more of an objective based, but that would require like us doing a total rewrite, which would probably be about a year process. Time to go through the public consultation and stuff.
Councillor Schippold.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. So how does that process work if this council or the next council said, hey, let's have a look at it? Do we hire a consultant, or is it done internally, or how does that happen? Because lately we've had some consultants that I've wondered about. So I'm just, how does one go about to try to get from point A to point B in a reasonable fashion?
Well, we don't have the resources, manpower, not to really take on a total rewrite of the land use bylaw. So it would be our recommendation that an RFP goes out for consultants, and through that RFP process, there's an interview process with council for the consultant. Because really, the land use bylaw is 100% council's jurisdiction of how you envision your community.
Can we add that for a discussion to our service level review in the fall? I mean, likely a different council around the table at that point in time.
Okay, any other questions? So this will be revised, and then another version will come back to council for review again?
Yeah, we gotta do first reading on June 3rd, or we can bring it back. We can either do a first reading on June 3rd, or we can bring it back for the GPC on the 10th, if you want to discuss it, you know, without having a formal first reading per se, 'cause we may not hit all the right, you know, our version may be different than your guys' version as far as some of the changes, so.
So
whether we wanna-
what are we thinking? Bring it back to GPC? Yeah, I think that's probably the best way of action to take care of it. Bring it back to our next GPC meeting, and then from there, we'll have a much cleaner version to start doing first readings
Yeah, because we do
on.
first reading on the 17th possibly.
Yeah.
From there, and then we'll have to give notice, and then sometime in July, we'll do second and third.
Okay, so, Mr. Kraus, do we need to make a motion accepting this with the modification? Okay. So, is someone prepared to make that motion? Counselor Ald?
I'll make the motion that administration brings the LEB back to the next GPC meeting for discussion with revisions.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Any discussion on that motion? Call it to a vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. So we have no correspondence for action today. Thank you, Mr. Fitzsimmons, Mr. Schwader. That was a great presentation. So moving on to item 9, correspondence for information. We have four items there. Is there anything that anybody needs to discuss or bring out? If not, we're just looking for a motion to accept the correspondence for information. Councillor Sheffield.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I'll also make the motion that we accept items 9.1 to 9.4 as information.
Thank you for that motion. Discussion on that motion. Call that to a vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. Moving on to item 10.1, the activity reports. 10.1 is the acting mayor's report. Is there anybody have any questions on the report I have? It was a very, very busy month. There's quite a number of things that were done. I don't have anything to highlight other than the EDA conference is always a very eye-opening conference to go to, and gives us lots of ideas and suggestions that we can bring back to our municipality and hopefully implement. But is there any questions on my report? If not, just looking for a motion to accept my report as information. Deputy Mayor Hutchinson is making that motion. Discussion on that motion. All those in favor? And that is carried. So moving on to the council activity reports. Councillor Auld, do you have anything you'd like to highlight?
Not at this time, thank you.
Okay. Any questions for Councillor Auld? No, we'll move on. Councillor Caprera was not here today, so we'll move on to Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
Thank you. Just a few things I wanted to touch on. Councillor Musker and I did the Red Deer Tourism Forum beginning of April, and it was interesting because I've never thought of Red Deer, like with them being on the Highway 2 corridor, advantages, things like that, but not realizing how they're very much similar to us in the fact that how do they get people off the main highway into the actual city of Red Deer? There's a few different ideas thrown around, but one of the things that has seemed to make a big difference to their community was having the, now I can't think what the name is, tourism, DMO.
Oh, yeah, DMO.
The DMO working with their hotels and making, and having the promotions of you come into a hotel and you don't just book your room, you have those hoteliers promoting experiences throughout the community and making sure, you go here, here, here. So that was just one thing that was kind of stuck out with me, that if we can get our hotels on board as we continue going forward with tourism, maybe we can take advantage of some of the ideas other municipalities have. The other one was our Community Events Committee meeting. So our Spring into Summer event, which is going to be held June 29th from 11 till 4. We'll have the inflatables, I think it's 126-foot obstacle course, which will be for, I know they have height restrictions, so, anybody that's over this height, where you can have the 2 people competing and racing. We'll also have a number of inflatables that will cater to each different age group, so there'll be something for everybody. It'll be a free barbecue. We're also doing a bike decorating station so that the little ones on bikes, scooters, strollers, whatever, can decorate and just have a little parade around in and out throughout the people there. And the other one was I met with Public Works this morning. I was the only one to come and help with setting Rocco back up. I'm going to say on camera that we did not get Rocco back in the exact order that he was in when he was picked up, because I tell you there was 7, 8 big Rubbermaid totes that had numbers on each of the rocks, but of course they don't go in the bin 1, 2, 3, 4. So we did the best we could, and as we were putting the rocks back out, there was a number of people that were quite excited to see that Rocco was back out. So big thanks to the Public Works summer students to help out with that. And I think that's about it.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Deputy Mayor Hutchinson? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to Councillor Musker.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I have nothing to add.
Okay, thank you. Not seeing any questions for you, so we'll move on to Councillor Shippold.
Thank you. I have nothing to add. It's been a busy month, so I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, thank you. So with that, I will make a motion to accept the council activity and committee reports as information. Any discussion on that motion? Councillor Shippold, did you have? No. Okay. I'll call that to a vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. Moving on to the administration reports. Mr. Kraus.
Yeah, thank you, Acting Mayor. So the reports are before council, and council has any questions?
So I did have one question, alluding to Deputy Mayor Hutchinson's comment. How do we bring forth the discussion of the DMF that we had a meeting with our hoteliers about the Destination Marketing Fund, and how do we proceed forward trying to make that program a reality?
I've asked our economic development staff to reach out to see if they where they're at, if they've moved any progress, so we'll report back to council.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, are there any other, Councillor Shippold?
I just have a thank you, if you'd allow me, Acting Mayor, to administration. One thing that's new is they've added capital project status and dollar values. That was not there the last 2 times it's been there. And that really brings into perspective where we're at on different projects. So thanks to everybody for adding that component to the reports.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that comment. Any other comments on the department reports? If not, just looking for a motion to accept them as information. Councillor Auld.
I'll make the motion that we accept the department reports as information.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Discussion on that motion? Call it to a vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. The action list for May 13th, Mr. Kraus.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. So there's only one open item, that's council's remuneration policy, and it's actually scheduled for the June GPC.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Kraus? If not, just looking for a motion to accept the action list. Councillor Musker.
Yes, thank you. I move that we accept the action list for information.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Discussion. All those in favor of that motion? And that's carried. Item 13, notice of motion. I said we have notice of motion. No notices of motion. Is there any notices of motion that need to be brought up? Okay, not seeing any. We have already taken care of our closed session item. Counselor Sherrill?
I need to make a motion on the closed section item.
That is correct. So go ahead with your motion.
I'm sorry. That we accept the Highway 11 twinning update, functional planning studies information.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Discussion on that motion? All those in favor? That is carried. And now with nothing else on our agenda, I will adjourn the meeting at 3, Deputy Mayor Hutchinson, sorry.
Sorry, I forgot something on my report. Can I add it?
Yep, go ahead.
It's just about the Seniors Week Country Fair that is being put on through Westview Lodge, Rocky Senior Housing, helping out there in partnership with West Country Family Services and FCSS. Anyways, that is happening on June 5th from 3 till 7:30. They'll be having kind of a little mini trade show in there, plus entertainment and a barbecue for not just seniors, but any members of seniors' families, anybody who wants to attend. So, sorry, I forgot to add that.
Okay, thank you. So with nothing else on our agenda, I will adjourn the meeting at 3:14. Good meeting, everyone. Thank you.